Okay, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Lucas. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for coming and for dedicating your time.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
I would actually start the whole thing by asking you maybe to give us like some sort of a background about who you are and how are you connected to homeschooling.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Lucas Dudek. Now I'm 30 years old and I grew up without school in Germany, where it is illegal. And also my 7 siblings, they also didn't go to school. Only my older brother, in the beginning, he started school he tried it for like 6 months. And then my parents took him out of school. And then I didn't even try schooling. So yeah, we basically did homeschooling until the 10th year of school. And then I switched to a public school to get the final degree. And then later on, I did an apprenticeship. I worked in electronics and mechanics. And then I visited school for 1 more year to get the high school diploma. So I could go to university. I studied business. I worked in finance. So basically, I stayed in school full time for 1.5 years. And before that, only homeschooling. So yeah, that was like 15 years ago when I started to go to school, and also at the age of 15. And during COVID, 4 or 5 years ago, I started to talk about that experience. Mm-hmm. Before, I never talked about it. I didn't think many people would be interested in it, because in Germany, it's a very rare thing. There are not many people who do the homeschooling. But then during the lockdowns and the pandemic in 2020, everybody had. So I thought, okay, I just post a video on YouTube talking about how I did it. And parents started to ask me questions like, how can you learn at home? How did you motivate yourself? How did you do it? Did you use books or the internet and so on? And since then, I started to help parents more and more, and even accompany a couple of students in the learning process. And out of that, I developed this learning coaching that I do now most of my time. I still do some work in finance, but my main focus actually is on helping parents and students to learn better, especially when they do the homeschooling. So, and I guess that's how you found me, right, on my social media channels, where I talk about exactly that.
True. It's actually funny because also this channel that I have been kind of working on for also 4 years, it also started during Corona, because during Corona, a lot of parents started asking, okay, what can we do else than send our kids to school, into indoctrination, into the laws, and into the whole limitation and restrictions that was during Corona. So
exactly, I think that Corona experience that just brought school closer to the parents, and then they actually saw that maybe the content isn't that useful, or the learning process itself is very inefficient, or some just realized that the kid is more relaxed at home, they have more peace at home, or the kid learns better. So I think that made many parents rethink that public school thing.
In Germany, it's actually against the law. So for the parents who don't understand what does that mean, like what is the Schulpflicht law and what are the penalties that actually parents get when they go against this law? Can you explain this a little bit so we can have some sort of a background for our conversation?
Yeah, so in Germany, you have 16 states, and in each state you have a kind of different law concerning that, not allowing homeschooling. In all of these states, it is forbidden. So you will have to pay a fine, or you might even go to prison. And it depends on the state, whether you just have to pay a small fine, a bigger fine, or let's say the amount of problems you might get. It depends a bit. But in all states, it's very difficult. And in the case of my family, when my older brother left school, we were also moving to another city. And at the new city, they didn't know about my older brother. So he just wasn't on the radar of the authorities. But then when I turned,
was it a city in the same state or a different state?
It was a different state.
Okay.
So that can happen when you move, and then in the new city they just don't have you in the papers, or they are busy.
In the system.
So that can happen, that they just don't find you. And there are actually a lot of families who were lucky, and somehow, since the school lockdowns, they just stayed at home, and the school never cared about getting them back to going to school. So that can happen, but it's not a sure thing. So you don't know what will happen. And then in my case, when I turned 6, they sent a letter that I should go to school. First, it's an invitation to start the school. And then my parents, they said, no, I'm not going to school. Just 1 year later, they sent a small fine, and then you can appeal that. And then there's a trial about that. So we just gained a couple of years. I think just after the 3rd year, my parents finally had to pay this fine. So we were kind of lucky that it took that long until we had to pay the fine, that the fine was also that low, just like 100 euros, something like that. But it can also be way more rough, that the fine is like 10 times that much, and it comes immediately in the 1st year. So you don't really know what's going to happen.
And is this different from state to state? Like one state the fine would be an amount, X amount, and then a different state will be a different amount? Regarding the fine,
a little bit, like there are different types of fines. For example, there's one fine, when you don't pay it, you have to go to prison for a certain amount of time instead of paying. And in some states, the fine is connected to how much the parents earn. But it really depends on the people working in the office, what they deem to be a reasonable fine. I guess in the case of my family, they were kind of unsure. They didn't know. They never had a case like that. So they thought, okay, we just start with a small fine. But that wasn't enough. So later, let's say the authority, the office above the school authority, they took that case over. And then there was a guy who was just very angry about my family. So he wanted to put my parents to prison. And we actually had a prison sentence for 3 months for each of my parents. But then we appealed against that. Yeah. But we appealed. So then there was another trial. And then we had a very good lawyer who took care of the case. And he brought it down to, again, just a very small fine.
Okay.
We also had like a lot of media attention, and the media started to be positive, talking positively about us. So that helped a lot. And then they just gave up sooner or later. So now my youngest sister, she still does the homeschooling, but for the last 10 years, we haven't heard anything of the school authorities anymore.
So they kind of like left your family alone.
Yeah, I would say they just gave up.
Okay. But let me take you a little bit before, like you started way before Corona, your homeschooling journey.
Yes.
How did your parents come across this idea? Like, it's not known in Germany. Homeschooling is not popular here. And also against the law, and the penalties could be amounts of money or prison time. So how did they come to this decision?
So they heard about the idea of homeschooling from friends in Germany who actually did it. I think this other family was like the first or the only homeschooling family back then. And when my parents saw that my older brother didn't get along so well in school in the 1st year, although it was a private school, but still he brought home all these bad influences, and school was quite long, it was quite stressful, and he didn't learn a lot. So my mom had to learn with him in the afternoon. And then my parents thought, that really doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no benefit from school. We still have to do the homework and the learning at home. And then you have the bad influences. Then my parents said, okay, we'll just try it at home. And actually my brother, he started to get along well learning at home. And since then, my parents did it. So they were very convinced of that. So they thought it's the best for us to not go to school.
Were your parents both in the same mindset? They both wanted, or one convinced the other?
I think they both wanted it. So they both saw the problem.
Do you think that kind of like helped throughout the whole process of getting homeschooling?
That they both wanted it? Sure. Yeah, no, they were always helping each other. So, for example, at the beginning, my mom was doing more the primary school years, the first 4 years. And then later on, my dad just worked in the afternoon. So then he taught the more difficult subjects, or the subjects that he knew more about. So they both did it like 100% together.
Mm. So basically, what motivated them was the whole situation of your brother at school and how he was. So just watching your brother at school made them actually think, okay, this is not good for us. We want something else. And since then, how many brothers are you? You said 7. So since then,
yeah, we are 8 with me. So the first 5 boys and then 3 girls.
And all were home educated.
Yes. So I'm the second oldest.
That's actually very interesting. Honestly, I have never heard about your case in Germany. I just saw your social media, and that's how I thought of contacting you. But that's an amazing story. Was it like in the newspaper and stuff?
Sure. Yeah. After a couple of years with the first trial, the local newspaper started to talk about it, and then later also the national television. There were a few. We appeared a few times on television. Even nowadays, people sometimes they text me, "Oh, I saw you back then 20 years ago on TV," and they still remember the case. As I said, that helped us a lot to show people that it can work.
Can you maybe tell us which state it is, if it's not too private?
Sure, it is Hessen.
Okay, Hessen. Okay, understand. Can you tell us more about this process you started telling us about? First, there was a fine, a small fine, and then you got to, or like you paid the first fine, right?
Yes.
Was it something that happens every year? Like you get a fine for every school year, or was it something that just,
It's
how
like
did it
that.
happen?
So the first fine is when you should go to school for the first time. So when you turn 7 years old. And then when you don't go to school, they send this first fine. But then when you pay that fine and you still don't go to school, at least in that particular state, then then the school authority doesn't care about that case anymore. Then basically, I don't know how it is called. It's like the state itself takes care of the case. So, and then they can make you pay much more, or even send you to prison. So then it's like you have to deal with a different authority. And then there's a third problem, which is the youth welfare office. But they don't care so much about the education. It's more like they think, okay, there might be child neglect, or we just have to see what they are doing with the kids. So they became aware of us as well, but not because we didn't go to school. It was just, I think a relative or so called them and said, you should look at the kids. So they didn't like that we didn't go to school. So someone from the relatives thought, okay, it would be a good idea to make us go back to school. But they were not so strict. So they were just visiting us once. We told them to make an appointment. We didn't just let them in. We wanted to be somewhat prepared. So they visited us, talked with us a bit, and they couldn't find anything. So we were all doing fine and somewhat social, and there was nothing wrong that they could use against us. But still, they invited us to another appointment, which was a trial, and there the judge was just talking with us kids and asked us about our day, what we were doing. And he decided, okay, the kids are fine. Like, there's no need to do anything. And since then, they never did anything anymore. This youth welfare office. So in some other cases, it's way more serious. They take the kids out of the family. They, often you have cases where the kid doesn't want to school because of stress or anxiety. And then they say, okay, you even have to go to get a treatment for that, or they call a psychologist. They try to medicate you. And when the parents say, no, that's not necessary, the kid just is afraid of the other students in school, or the situation is just too stressful, they don't accept that. And then they take the kid away and send it into an institution, like in the worst case that can happen. And that actually it's quite often.
But how come the school didn't inform the Jugendamt, the welfare, the child services?
I don't know. So that can happen, or usually that does happen. That they say, okay, here's a family, the kids don't go to school, you should look after them. But in our case, it just didn't happen. Maybe now they are working more closer together, the Jugendamt and the school office. But in our case, it just didn't happen. So it was just after a couple of years when they finally became aware of us, and they told us that it was from a call from someone else and not based on what the school said.
Oh, so they informed you of that?
Yeah, we asked them, like, why do you want to talk to us now?
That is actually funny. Do you think it was luck that made this be this way?
Sorry, I didn't get the audio.
I'm asking if it was more related to luck, that they actually didn't contact you before, or they didn't make more problems, or they didn't find any problems, because we know that they can invent also problems, like make them out of thin air.
Sure. Yeah, they could have invented problems later. I guess it helped that the media, the local media, was talking positively about us. So they didn't want to embarrass themselves. And the other thing, I guess, yeah, in the beginning, I guess somewhat it was luck that they didn't visit us earlier. And we try to present ourselves quite well. So we went to sports activities, to have social contacts. We showed them everything, our desks where we did this schooling, our books, and all that kind of stuff. So
they contacted.
We even invited them to talk to the leader at we went to the scouts and all these social activities. We told them, look, why don't you talk to these people and ask them how we are doing, what impression we are making.
Okay. Throughout the years, like, you and all of your brothers didn't go to school, and they contacted your family only one time?
No, in the beginning, with each new child, when the child turns 6, they get the invitation to go to school, and then the process can start from zero.
Again.
So that happened to my younger siblings as well. But then later they bundled the case together. So then in the end, it was just 4 of us in one case, and they did make a new case for each one of us. But the first initial fine, yeah, that happened, I guess, 3 times.
How much was the fine, if I may ask?
So I guess in total we paid like 2,000 to 3,000 euros in fines.
In fines.
Yeah, so that doesn't sound a lot compared to, like, I mean, 8 of us.
Yeah, totally not, actually. In Israel, for example, where homeschooling is actually allowed, parents who violate the law of Schulpflicht, of like the compulsory education, and don't get a permit, they're supposed to pay 10,000 shekel, actually, which this is like Israeli money. I think it goes down to maybe 3,000 euros, something like this.
Okay.
Plus minus. Yeah. But this is like for each case. But I think this is this bad because it's actually allowed, and all the parents need to do is actually to file a request to get the permit. And if they don't do that, it's like they're going against the system in so many ways. But that's my take on it. These fines and these being dragged to court and having to talk to welfare, were you aware of this as a child, or did your parents manage everything?
Sure. No, I was aware of that. I also attended the trials and the appointments at court as long as it was possible. So no, I was fully aware of that. I found it to be quite exciting, actually, to see how it all plays out, and also some of the media attention. I found that interesting. So it didn't really stress me. I guess my older brother now, he says it was somewhat stressful, or he was kind of worried. but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't affect me like emotionally.
And when there was the threat of your parents going to prison, how did that affect your family? Because it was a process, right? It was like a few months,
Yes.
I believe, until the whole thing was resolved in court by one judge who was kind enough to say, I don't see child endangerment in this case, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How did
So
that affect your family and your parents?
we were actually, so there was a point where we thought, okay, that's a real possibility of happening. And we were very serious about leaving Germany. So we
Okay.
started to pack all our stuff. We tried to sell the house. We thought about going to New Zealand, but we just couldn't sell the house. Nobody wanted to buy it, or at least not for the price that we wanted to get. So another option was, there was one very good private school, and another family who did homeschooling, they started to go to their private school. So we thought we could do the same, but then we would have to move as well. It would have been super stressful, but we're planning to do that basically given. But I guess it was the lawyer who gave us lots of hope, and he said there were some mistakes in the case with the prison sentence, and then he said there's a good chance we can do that again and not go to prison.
Do you know any specifics? Like, what were the mistakes? Do you remember?
It's more like technicals, where they didn't consider certain points, or
didn't file it correctly and stuff like this, or just
things
stuff?
like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, when you have a good lawyer, like, he can find things, he can make them work a lot. So even the final trial, where it came down to just a fine, it was like over 3 days, because the lawyer found something, and then he said, okay, we need another person who has to testify here, and then the judge said, okay, well, we have to do that another day. And then over 3 days, took 3 days till the final result.
Okay, and who was this other person who came to testify? Was it another teacher
from the school office?
Mm-hmm.
So the lawyer, he just wanted to hear from them, what they did in that case, or about the technicals, whether they filed everything correctly.
Mm-hmm. And in this court case, where the judge, what kind of questions did he ask you to discover there is no endangerment in homeschooling? Do you remember any of this? Can you share it with us?
These were two different cases. So the one judge, it's like just a family judge. So he just takes care of the cases from the Jugendamt. But what I was talking about now, the prison sentence and the fines, like, that is a normal judge that also takes care of cases like when something happens in traffic or any other law. But the other judge is basically just deals with divorces, family law, exactly. So he had the one-on-one conversation with us kids only, just one judge, and we kids were talking to him. It wasn't super official. It's not like the normal court where you have the lawyer and all these people. So he just asked us, how does your day look like? Go through your day. And my older brother, he told him how we were doing, like what we did. We get up in the morning, then we do our schooling. And then in the afternoon, we have our activities, and that's it. So I guess he just wanted to hear from us kids, what is our perspective? How are we experiencing this learning at home? I don't remember. Maybe he also asked us, would you like to go to school or something like that?
Probably.
Or maybe, how these things affect us, something like that. But it wasn't anything. He didn't really ask difficult questions. It was not more really just hearing our perspective.
And he was there just to actually eliminate the possibility that you were endangered as all of your brothers and sisters, and to get the child services out of this case, right? But you were left with the law of breaking the law of compulsory school, right?
Exactly. So the one thing is breaking the law, And the other thing is just the subjective impression of the judge and the Jugendamt. So he then closed the case. He said there's no need to further look into this family.
And the thing where your parents actually broke the law, how was that resolved?
So that was the thing where we had the lawyer and we had another trial. And then the lawyer found the things that were not so correctly done in the case.
Okay, and that's how it was actually resolved. How long, for how many years have your family been homeschooling without any problems?
Without any problems, I think since I was finished with homeschooling, so for the last 15 years, I would say.
Do you know of any other families in Germany that have this kind of, I'll call it luck, I don't know how to call it any other than that?
Yes,
that they homeschool.
There's another family in our state. So they had quite a similar process. It wasn't that serious it wasn't a prison sentence, but they had to pay a few fines. And then later, when the kids in the 9th and 10th grade, they started to go to school and have like amazing results. I think so when that started to happen, they kind of gave up. So when they saw that we actually have a good education, that we start to go back to school, and that we have amazing results, go on to work and study and university and all that stuff. So I think that kind of took the pressure out of the whole situation for this other family as well.
Do you know of any other families who actually did get a prison sentence?
Yes, but not because they broke the law, more because they couldn't pay the initial fine. Or they didn't want the initial fine.
Okay.
It's like even when you speed too much and you have a huge fine, and when you cannot pay it, you have to go to prison for there's like an amount of money that basically you pay for each day in prison. So that happened. But actually having a prison sentence for not going to school, I'm not aware of that happening. Okay,
that's actually very optimistic, I would say, because in my mind it was a lot different. I had a question in mind that it kind of flew away, but let me ask you this. You going through this homeschooling, you and your brothers and sisters, and then you decide one day to go to school. What made you actually do this shift and actually want to try school when it was actually okay and no problems are happening at your home?
Well, actually to move on to go to university, to do the apprenticeship, because in Germany it's still like that. You need to have the papers from school. You need to have a high school diploma. For example, it's not like in the US where you just do the SAT test and then you have a degree by having like just a test like that. So there's no standardized test that you can take before going to university. Either you go to school or you can prepare for these final exams at home, but that's a lot of work because the final exams, if you didn't go to school, they will be it will be a lot. So the easiest way is to just go to school. To get the first diploma, I just had to go to school for 6 months for the second half of the year. Then later I did another year to get the final high school diploma to be able to go to university. Otherwise, it's just very difficult. My older brother, he actually tried it at home to just prepare for the final exam at home, but it took him a long time. It would have been easier to just go to school for the last 1-2 years, and that's it. And also, I think it's an interesting experience to actually see how it is in school when you do it in the end. It's not like, for me, it was an interesting experience to observe the other students, the teacher, to see how it is all done. I didn't learn anything new because I was prepared quite well from doing the homeschooling, but it's a somewhat fun experience.
How did the teachers there accept you as a child who's coming from homeschooling in Germany?
I mean, in the school where I went to, the first school, they knew about it, of course, because it was the local school. And then the second time, the teachers didn't even know about it. So, but in the first school, they were quite friendly, so they knew that we had a different level of education because we took it so seriously. And in some subjects, I didn't even have to participate in the class. I have to do some silent work for myself and do something else because I already had done the content. So I would say, all in all, they were quite friendly and helpful.
You were like more advanced than the other kids at your age because of your homeschooling experience. But like what helped you actually? What did homeschooling give you that helped you throughout those years at school?
So you mean how I basically achieved my education at home?
Yeah, and how did it benefit you when you were at school? Because like it's two different things. Like at school, you're with your mom, your dad, or maybe on your own studying something, and suddenly there's a class full of students and a teacher trying to give you the content that it teaches you, but in a certain way. How the two worlds are too different.
Yes.
How did the homeschooling benefit you there?
Completely different. I think one big difference is the motivation. In school, you learn to pass the exams, to make the teacher happy, to bring home good results. But at home, I didn't have an objective like that. That wasn't the goal of like passing an exam. So at home, I learned to really understand the subject, to really be able to answer all my questions. Because I didn't want to waste my time. I didn't want to just read the book and not having understood anything or not remembering anything. So I was learning to satisfy my curiosity, to use my time well. And then you automatically learn way more profoundly, and you learn in a way that it benefits you. And in school, when you know, okay, I know enough to pass the exam or to get the desired result I want to get, then you don't keep learning. So, and actually in school, they don't have enough time to learn so intensely that everybody understood it, that you do all the pages in the book. But at home, I went through the book from the beginning to the end, so I didn't miss anything. And because of that, I just learned very well. So the quality of learning was way better at home because I didn't have the external motivation. I was, you could say, intrinsically motivated to take it serious, learning. I think that's the biggest difference.
Your mom and your dad, you said your mom helped throughout the elementary years and then your dad did the rest. What were their backgrounds in general, if you would like to share?
Sure, yeah, they both studied. My mom, she studied music, and my dad studied journalism and English and German, or some history, like a combination of that. So my dad he taught me good English, especially in writing, and also in German, how to read, and good knowledge of history. Besides that, all the other subjects like math, the sciences, physics, my parents couldn't help me that much. In the beginning, sure, in the first 4 or 5 years, but later I was pretty much on my own, which was also good because then I had to do the research. I had to explain math to me just by using a book. Nowadays, you have YouTube and the internet with animations and all kind of stuff.
Sure.
But we didn't have internet. We didn't even have computers. So that was a difficulty, but it was also good because it made me think.
Did you have any private teachers, tutors throughout the homeschooling years?
We never had. I would say the only external help once was a math student, a friend of ours. He was visiting us, and I had a few exercises that I couldn't solve. So, and when he visited us, I took out these exercises, and he could immediately solve it. And then I saw how to do these difficult exercises where I didn't find it on my own. So I had a few experiences like that where someone from the outside actually helped us with something, but that was happened just a few times. Outside of that, it was literally just us and the books.
Is it still the case with your younger brothers?
It is, yeah. No, we don't really use lots of learning apps or stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a bit, but not much. We still have all the books.
And you think it's better than actually using the internet and all of these learning apps? Or what is your take on it today?
I would say in general, the more active the learning process, the better. So let's say reading a book is better than watching a video, and taking notes out of the book is better than just reading, but explaining what you learned to someone else is even better than just reading and taking. So there are levels to it. I think it's great to use the videos and all the stuff on the internet, all these apps, but it shouldn't be everything. It can be super useful, so you don't have to buy all the books. If you just have like a few kids, it's quite expensive to buy all these books. And it can make the learning more fun using these apps. But if that's all you do, it's still quite passive. You just click on something. Like the app leads you through the process. You don't really have to think through the whole process. But that's what actually trains your creativity, when you have to think through the whole thing and explain it to someone. So what I would do is like, use all these apps, but then also make the student explain to you what he or she learned, so that it becomes an active process.
Well, may I ask you, which school did you go to eventually?
It was Realschule, so that's kind of middle level. So the books that we used to learn, it was more the higher school, the Gymnasium.
Okay, so you used gymnasium books, but you went to a Realschule.
Exactly, because that was the local school. The Gymnasium, I would have to take the bus.
Travel.
That was like, because we live so much on the countryside, it was the easiest thing to just go to that school. But later, even now, my younger siblings, they didn't go to this local school. They went to the Gymnasium, and even there, they say that the level of education is still not that high. For example, in the second foreign language and French, they just do the basic stuff, and we at home really serious and actually try to speak the language. And in school, you just do some basic exercises, and that's it.
That's true. It's true actually to every topic that is taught at school, and it's simply because there are 30 students that you need to kind of accommodate to their level of understanding. So it's never as high as at home, because you're talking about 1 or 2 children, and that's different.
Yes.
That's great. Today you kind of help parents do homeschooling in Germany. Is that what you do today?
I focus more on the kids themselves. So I show them how they can learn, like not just on the homeschoolers only. Like it could be that there's a single mom and the kid doesn't go to school. So I'm the only teacher, the only one who takes care of the child's education. And I just focus on the basic stuff, which is do math, English, German. In other cases, it's like a mom who's like super ambitious and she just wants to get some extra coaching, maybe more like for herself, so that she just has a better approach when teaching her own kids. So it's very diverse. And
okay, can you give us a number of how many parents in Germany today are interested in homeschooling and actually are doing it, despite the fact that it's against the law?
Yeah, well, no, I don't have a number. And also it's hard to know, because a lot of them, they're not visible, or they don't want to become visible. So they are the ones where the authorities never found out about it. Okay. They're under the radar. Some people say it's like somewhat around 10,000 families who do that.
Wow.
And nowadays, there are so many people who work from home, who do online jobs. So they left Germany, they live in Portugal, it's nearby Germany. And that's happening a lot. Or sometimes, like, one solution is where you might still have a house in Germany, but you don't really live there. So you tell the school, look, we're leaving Germany, we're traveling to other countries for some time. That's kind of a solution that can work for some time. But then you actually, in the beginning, you actually have to leave Germany. And also then you don't get money for example, in Germany, you get money per kid as a support government. So when you leave Germany, you have the disadvantage of not having that kind of support. All the things like health insurance are more expensive outside. But a lot of families are doing that. So they leave Germany, they move to a country nearby or close to the border. They might even still have a job in Germany, but officially they live outside.
So this is basically the way to do homeschooling in Germany. Is actually to
That's like,
say to the authorities, we're out of Germany for a while, or travel or stuff like this, and try to be under the radar for as much as possible. Did I
yes, yes.
understand
I
right?
mean,
Okay.
you can, yeah. I mean, to make it a clean solution, yeah, you have to leave Germany.
That's actually. Do you think maybe at one point homeschooling will become legal in Germany?
Could be that they become more relaxed, or let's say if at every school there are a few families who do that, then the authorities, they just won't have enough time to do it. Like, even a teacher once told me, like, there's a more difficult school district where you have a lot of families that don't have such a good situation there. The kids don't go to school and nobody takes care of them because it's just way too much.
You mean also for the authorities it's way too much?
For the authorities, it's too much to for all these families.
Okay. So it's a problem of personnel. Like, they don't have enough people to take care of these things, and that's how people are managing to go under the radar.
Exactly, yeah. But that's a case where, I mean, it doesn't mean that the families do homeschooling. It's more like the kid doesn't really have, the parents don't really look after the kid. And
you mean neglect?
Yeah, it's more like these cases.
Okay. I will just say something in Hebrew for the people who are actually with us here. חברים, אם יש לכם שאלות, אנחנו תכף חושבת שאנחנו נסיים. אם יש לכם שאלות, אתם יכולים להכין אותם ובסוף לשאול. אם אין לכם, אז הכל בסדר. I just told our friends as soon as and if not, okay. To share the whole what parents that come to you for advice.
I did get the notes.
Sorry, I think next week.
So
I don't know.
And we're back.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Lucas?
yes.
Okay. There was a problem with the line, I guess, on all ends. Yeah. Would you like to go on sharing your last point?
Yes, I didn't understand. What did you ask?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said if you would like to share any general points, like anything that you advise the parents that come to you regarding homeschooling, or anything that you would like to share with us.
Sure. I mean, I guess one of the most important things is to not just focus on trying to replicate school at home, but to think about the possibilities and the options that this freedom gives you. Because often that's the first thing that I would do differently in my homeschooling. So we cared a lot about trying to learn the same stuff that the others learn in school, or trying to learn to be prepared in case they would test us and stuff like that. But when you actually have the freedom to not be tested like all the time, or to not learn exactly what the others learn in school, then I would think about what are things that are actually helpful in the long term. Because it's obvious that school is behind a lot, maybe like 20 years behind. And there's so many other subjects that are way more relevant and helpful in the long run. So I would start from the end. I would keep the end in mind. I think about, okay, what are things that would help me now as an adult? So that's my attitude. I think, okay, what should I have learned 20 years ago to have an easier life now? And you don't really know what you have to learn, what will be relevant 10 years from now, 20 years from now, but you can think about how to think, what is the right attitude, or how do you have to develop your character and your way of thinking, your mindset to be successful in whatever situation later. And just to give you an example, often the mindset of a teacher is trying to make the students produce the correct result. And the teacher wants to give you the correct answers, or make you do exactly the thing as planned, or as the template says you have to do it. Now, a mindset shift would be to, first of all, to see mistakes as something good, as an opportunity to learn. And then you just tell your students, how could you do it better? Or what else could you improve? Instead of saying, okay, that is good, we don't have to improve, and that is wrong, and you still don't have the correct answer. So in school, it's very black and white. It's like either you fulfilled the minimum requirements or not. But yeah.
No, successful or failure. It's the black and white of schools.
Yeah, it's like right or wrong. And even creative things like writing a text, it's like, okay, you wrote the text according to the standards or not, or something is still missing. Now, what I want to say is try to mindset. You can always improve. Like when I went to school, I had like the perfect results on all the subjects besides sports, because that was something we never really trained at home. We didn't have the team sports or the opportunities to do that. But in all the other subjects, I stopped learning because I thought, okay, I've learned enough. I don't need to do anything anymore to have the good result. So school limits you to the upside. But when you think about, you can always become a better writer. You can always learn something additional in math and all these subjects. So think more about, okay, how can I improve from there? What could I do better? So when I coach a student and he gives me a presentation about something, I ask him, okay, what would you improve now? What do you want to work on? He might already do it very well, or he might even do it very poorly. But even then I would say, okay, what can you do better? Instead of saying this is wrong and that's what you have to improve. So to sum it up, yeah, the one thing, growth mindset versus thinking, okay, I have to achieve a specific result. That also makes the whole learning process more positive. And the other thing is focus on the opportunities. What can you do with that freedom? Like rethink the whole process of learning. How would you learn in an ideal world, and what would you learn? So I guess that these are two very important points.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is actually something we also tell the parents in general. This is very important. Even if your child goes to school, eventually he comes home, focus on all these things that the school doesn't focus on. So your child turns out actually at the end to be independent and successful, and can always improve, and not just get to a point where somebody else says it's good or it's bad. thank you for everything you shared with us tonight. And I would like to ask the friends if they have any questions. יש למישהו שאלות ללוקאס?
I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Manal. And Lucas, thank you. My name is Dina. Thank you for sharing your extraordinary story with us. So my question, it's actually, there's two sides to it, which is when you did go to school, just from where you were at that place, and I guess looking back today, but was at any point, did you, on one hand, receive confirmation while you were in the school that yes, it was the right thing that we homeschooled, and why? What was going on in the school that you noticed that, oh, here's the reasons why it's good, that other than the lower level of learning? Were there other things going on in the school that confirmed for you that it was the right decision not to have been in school all those years? And then the second part of my question is, were there moments when you looked and thought, maybe I missed out on something. Maybe it would have been good had I gone to school all these years. And if that's the case, what was going on in the school that made you think that way?
Okay.
Do you understand my question?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, very interesting question. So the one thing I already mentioned, in school I stopped to actively learn and to learn for myself. It was more doing enough as necessary to get the final results. And as I see myself, someone who is actually not so ambitious when it comes to achieving the results, external results. So when I'm excited about something, I take it very seriously. I'm very ambitious. But as soon as I think, okay, it's just for example, now I do my own business. Before I was working for someone else, and I know the difference. It's kind of like that. When you work for yourself, you know that everything matters. And when you work within a company, you don't really see the bottom line. You don't really see how your work ends up or what it does for you. You just do what is required. You. So I wasn't really fulfilled at school. I thought, okay, I could use my time in a better way. And maybe because of homeschooling, but I just developed a very strong sense of wasting my time. So I don't want to waste my time. I'm very sensible when that happens. And I don't want to be in a situation where I waste half of my day. And also, yeah, the speed of learning. In some subjects, I just learn faster, or I want to learn faster. I don't want to do like additional exercises when I've already understood the content. In other subjects, although I would say I want to have more time to go through it a few times or alone. So it's just way better to learn at my own speed. And in school, I was limited, or even sitting there, maybe I was tired. I didn't want to try to understand what the teacher was explaining. I thought I just wait until I'm home, and then when I'm not tired anymore, when I have a peaceful moment, I want to look at it at my own speed. Of course, I'm influenced by growing up learning for myself. So because of that, it's just comes very handy to me to learn from a book or to learn for myself. It's more difficult to try to listen to someone, try to understand what the person tries to explain, and then I have to explain it to myself again. Yeah, and something else, of course, the practical side of it, going to school, waiting, the breaks within. So that takes away a lot of time. I didn't like that. Now, another thing that maybe I didn't have at home that I found to be interesting is the social side, to be able to observe the teacher, the other students. That was always an interesting thing. So I like to go to school to just have the experience of seeing the other students and the teacher. I was curious about that. I think I was also more curious about the other students than they normally are. So usually I ask them questions like, what do you like to do in your free time? What do you do? And the students, they just get surrounded by others. So maybe because I didn't have it so much at home, I was naturally more curious about other people, which made the whole experience interesting. Now, I don't know if I had developed, or would I have developed that attitude towards others had I gone to school from the beginning. I feel like students somewhat, they get kind of numb towards these social experiences because they are forced to be among the other students. I had more curiosity about it. So, but and overall, yeah, I would have, if I could do it again, I would think more about how to have more social contacts at home.
I think you didn't have it because it's not very popular in Germany. In other countries where it's actually more popular, then there's also a frame for social stuff or like for sports or wherever other stuff than it is here.
Sure, and I mean, it depends so much on where you live. So my family lived on the countryside, super small village. There were not many other kids. Let's say you live more closer to the city, then you have, it's way easier to find friends and to have other people around you. So I would say where you live, it determines a lot.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Thank you for that. Thank you, Dina, for your question. Should we take another question, Lucas, or?
Yeah, we can take another question.
Okay. Are there any other questions, guys, here who are with us tonight? Yeah, I guess we're good for tonight, basically.
Good.
Well, we didn't touch much on the social aspect and other aspects as well, because I was trying to focus on this against the law thing, yeah. But maybe we can have a conversation one time and talk about all these other aspects and what you actually bring to parents who are interested today in how they do it.
Sure. Yeah, no, we should do that. Like the social aspect is huge. So there can be said a lot about it, like on both sides, how to approach that. And then about learning itself, I just mentioned these two frameworks or way of thinking. There's a lot more. Sure, we can do that and maybe collect some questions in the meantime. And
no problem. I really thank you for coming and giving us from your time, and you shared your experience with us, and this was amazing for us to hear. And we'll hear from you again sometime soon, I guess.
Good. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great evening.